I've challenged, those who say in the business community and, the Republican legislators, I would challenge respectfully, tell me where we should cut the $627 million. I mean, it's fine to say that, and it's a number, but, this is money that goes to people's lives, goes to education, goes to health care, human services, goes to transportation. So somebody's got to say, there's no easy street. And if you're going to cut $627 million, then you're going to stop doing things that you're doing now, and I'd like to know what those should be. The additional part, and that's a very good question, beyond the $627 million is summarized in this handout here. If anybody didn't get it, I trust we have more. But we're putting more, most of that's going into education. $344 million for early childhood through 12th grade, $240 million more for higher education, $80 million for the University of Minnesota, $80 million for MINSU, and $80 million for pre-student aid. Those are the primary areas, and again, somebody could cut that back, but I feel like we're not making investments in education that are going to pay off for our future. But thank you for being here. Thanks. A very good question.
Got Jim from Duluth.
Hi, Governor. Actually, I'm from Saginaw. I don't live in Duluth, but I work in Duluth. I work for the Minnesota Department of Transportation. Worked there for a little better than 29 years. A couple of years ago, there was a bill that was passed for early retirement incentive for state employees. It covered all branches of state government. There was a savings of $46.7 million. There was also a clause at the end of that bill that would be revisited in a few years. A few years has passed. I'd like to see that bill revisited, and for three reasons. People who are looking to retire and wanting to retire from state government will put in their time, who meet rules and required by them to retire. It would help them with their medical care like it did in the last one. The second reason is it would allow new people to come in and fill those jobs with new ideas, with those new learning skills and a tax revenue. There's another tax revenue. But you're not losing the tax revenue from the retired people. They're still here. So now you have double the tax base by using this bill. And I'd like to see it revisited.
I'm surprised when hearing you say that this is the first time in now into my third year as governor that anybody's brought that subject up. I don't know why it has not been raised as an issue in the legislature, but I will find out.
Governor, I've also given Adam a letter of an outline that I drew up one of your staff members to give to you and
All right, I'll look at that. Thank you.
Governor, back here I have Brad from Duluth.
Hi, Governor. Good to see you again.
How are you, Brad?
My question deals with how you've led in the idea of the mandate with the energy conservation with the state buildings and municipal and county buildings. Would you take a minute to share what progress has been made on that and what barriers, if there are any, and then how does that affect what we need to do with our commercial buildings as well as our residential and multi-housing, and what add value to the whole vision? And finally, do you think that the conservation improvement funds, the $110 million that are reflected by the ratepayers and managed by Commissioner Rothman and Grant, that other alternatives could enhance that whole picture? Thank you.
Well, it's been a very significant success, and great credit is due to Lieutenant Governor Yvonne Preckner-Solomon when she was state senator back in the previous decade. She championed that legislation, and it's 30% of renewable energy for electric generation in Minnesota by the year 2020. Xcel is already at about the 20% mark, and others are making significant progress. So, and wind energy has, up until the recent emergence of natural gas, especially with North Dakota and the price there, which is probably still lower than it is for using wind, but, you know, wind energy is competitive on a price basis, and so we got to win both ways, a win in terms of the environment and a win in terms of, providing people with electricity at the lowest possible price. The solar has lagged behind. There are people now want to put an additional mandate on and focus it on the solar. It's still, again, the cost differential is significant, so there's some discussion of ways to help get there, whether some of that money should be used for that purpose. I'd have to go back to Commissioner Rothman and Bill to see, but I don't know what you're suggesting about the conservation investment fund, and I know Commerce is a little better at regulation than innovation. So I'd like to learn more if you want to fill me in more on that. You get the phone number I threw out there earlier? No. 651. Got a pen? 651-201-3468. That's my home. I'd be interested to hear more about what the issue is there.
Governor, I've got Dan from Duluth.
Hi, Governor.
Dan?
I've been in Duluth for about 20 years, and during that time, Minnesota is constantly ranked #1 in healthcare. And the state has shown its gratitude to the physicians of Minnesota by having a provider tax, which, by the way, I'll take exception to your comment earlier that the property tax is the most unfair tax. The provider tax is. It's a 2% tax on gross receipts, which means if you have 50% overhead, it's essentially a 4% added income tax. So the physicians in the state are already paying about 12% income tax, and with your increase, it'll go to what, 14%, making them the highest state taxed individuals in the country. So thanks for that. So there's not a lot of gratitude there. There's not a lot of gratitude in your Medicaid payments either. You like to quote where we stand compared to other states. Minnesota has the 5th lowest Medicaid reimbursements to physicians. And I'm just wondering if, with your healthcare exchange, are you going to be paying in Medicaid rates? And is the state planning on raising those rates? Because right now the reimbursements are so low they don't even cover overhead. So when physicians see Medicaid patients, they're actually losing money every time they have an encounter.
Well, the Healthcare Access Fund and the provider tax was established by 1992, I believe, so preceded my arrival. And with legislation passed either last year or the year before, it's being phased out over this decade. So, that's the track it's on. If it matters to you, that tax is providing affordable health care to about 350,000 low-income Minnesotans.
Well, tax everyone for. I'm not against providing health care.
Well, and that's been the debate that has been going on since 1992, and I don't disagree with you.
Well, okay, the tax asks me to pay for government services and teachers for...
I understand that you're bitter and you're unhappy and you don't like it. And again, for 20 years this has been, a valid point about the unfairness of the tax. It's being phased out. It serves a valuable purpose. It should come from the general fund. You can make a strong argument that it should. But I thank you for doing it, even unwillingly, because it's a big part of why Minnesota is ranked as high as you say in terms of healthy population.
We were #1 before that.
Yeah, I know. Your mind's already made up. I'm not going to convince you otherwise. It's an unfair tax. You resent it, and I respect that.
Governor, Gene from Wisconsin here.
Thanks for letting me talk. I didn't know if they let a badge in or not. They did.
Have we put in that toll bridge yet where you have to pay that toll to come over Wisconsin?
I presented this proposal to Governor Pawlenty when he was governor, and Governor Doyle when he was in Wisconsin many years ago. The economy was too good then. Well, it's a jobs proposal. Costs very little. I'll just give a quick rundown on it. To help it improve that stimulate the economy in practically any state and create thousands of much-needed jobs, minimal cost in all areas of the building trades, manufacturing sector, and related business community. For a 1-year window, I say 3. I dropped it down to 1. My proposal is allow people to update, remodel their homes and buildings, including landscaping on their property, without raising their property taxes any more than anyone else who didn't make any improvements on their square footage for the same period of time. And I'm not saying taxes can't go up, but for this 1 year